And this is a short meeting. We do have a little bit of business, and we also have our first budget hearing. So I know Mr. Middleton has us ready for that, and maybe Mr. Middleton and Buffy both have us ready for that. They may both be going to do the presentation, but thank you for getting the work done on this budget. And just as we always do with our agenda, and when we start a meeting, we'll take a moment of silence and reflection about things that are going on in our nation here, and especially in our county. And we all know that we lost a former employee and had a current employee that was in a wreck yesterday. And so I know that I've been troubled by that over the last 24 hours, and I know that some others have too. So we want to keep Nancy Perry in our prayers, and hope that she has a good recovery, and also their family as they mourn the loss of TJ and all those others that he has impacted at Skyline and Section and Plainview and everywhere. TJ has been everywhere. Even if he didn't work there, he worked with most of the kids at those schools. So all those who were involved in that, and we are certainly thinking about them today and praying for them, and for those that assisted on the scene, and those who are supporting those families. So please lift them up, and if you'll bow with me for just a moment, please. Thank you very much. So we do have our budget hearing today, and just a little bit of business, and we will also have our second hearing on Wednesday, and we will also have other board business that we need to attend to on that day. So like I said, this is an abbreviated agenda, but we do have business, so we have to approve our agenda that we have presented here, and then we can get in. Do we have a motion to approve this agenda?
I'll make a motion.
All right, we have one motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I guess seconds that. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The agenda is approved. So, Mr. Middleton, you're first to the floor. We're going to let you have it.
Good morning, everyone. Have a good weekend. So, going into this new year, and we have a really nice budget presentation. It's all in color and professionally done. We thank Ms. Blackwood for getting that together. And I've got a pointer and all this stuff. I'm going to be dangerous. So, y'all have any questions about anything? Okay, all right. And I've got a corner where I can do that. So it's really dangerous. So this year is going to be quite I would say, an easy year. Jason was mentioning that there's some apprehension at the state level about going into this year because we're going to be without the ESSER funds. So what does it make it to 25 or something?
Oh, I can't remember the slogan.
Some kind of slogan, stay alive to 25 or something through 25. We're definitely going to be alive through 25. And I was, started doing this in 06, and everything was just going great. Budgets were really good. Little did we know we were about to go into heavy proration. But it's like there's some kind of big overseers that we're not aware of that kind of look at our budgets and kind of anticipate when things, to keep things stable here. And we're going to be very stable even going through this loss of ESSER. It's like every time the federal people, the federal people and the state people are doing this dance, one of them will step forward, the other one will be back, and then when the one steps back, the other one steps forward, and it all kind of evens out. And I'll show you this in a minute how that works. But this year, we're losing a bunch of federal funds, so the state is kind of taking a big step forward to support us at least through 25. So through 25, we're going to be fine. Now after 25, I don't know. Hopefully things will continue to stay stable, but we're definitely going to be fine through 25. So that's my just overall assessment. So this is our nice professional presentation, and all the smiling kids and everything. And I think everybody will be smiling through 25 anyway. So this is the reason that we're having these hearings. Is required by law. I think we're supposed to have 2 hearings. We'll have another one on the
11.
Yes.
At 5.
That'll be the evening.
Yeah, 5 p.m.
So, and hopefully everybody, the crew that we've had this meeting, we got the board minutes and everything, but it'd be nice to get as many signatures as we could, so if anybody has to sign in, that'd be great. We have additional copies of the budget here. If anyone needs one, does anybody need a copy of the budget? Would you like one? Well, they're up here. And the purpose, is to inform the community, shows that we're being accountable, that we're being open with our finances, and also help us planning. And on the back of those budget sheets would be where you can make comments, public comments. I might have had 2 comments in doing this for 20 years, so you can be a unique person if you think of a comment and you make it, and there's a place for you to make that comment, and then you turn it into us sometime between now and when we have the last budget year. So these are the required communications. Where we're showing the available resources, expenditures, or enrollments, projections of staff, cost of each by school, and then the different funding sources that we have. The biggest funding source is the foundation program, and you'll see this really nicely presented in a few slides. These are the things that affect us. Enrollment, you'll see, went slightly down, but it's staying pretty stable. Hopefully, we'll start. We'll at least keep stable enrollment. Hopefully, some good things will happen in the community, and we can start growing. Eventually, Jackson County is going to be discovered. I don't know when. I'm kind of glad it hadn't been discovered quite yet, but it's coming. And so we do need to be in a position to accept those. So these are the factors that affect our budget, and this shows the enrollments comparisons, and that we have a slight decrease in enrollment, and is spread throughout the community, differently. Some of our rural areas are struggling a little bit with enrollment. One thing that has affected, like Flat Rock in particular, is because of the grade configuration change. So that took it down, pretty good bit. But hopefully they'll able to pick that up in this next year. Those are the foundation units by school. So we actually had a change of one additional unit. And that's from the growth that we had last year. It's a year behind in our growth. That affects the units earned. And so we would expect maybe a loss of possibly that unit we gained this next year if we don't pick up any more enrollment. And that's the certified units by school. And that's the personnel by category, the amount of teachers, librarians, counselors. And then the non-certified support would be our non-degree workers, our maintenance workers, our transportation workers, lunchroom workers. Okay. So those are the salary and benefit costs. That's the main expense that we have, salaries and benefits. That's about 70% of our budget. And that's pretty consistent. Ours probably is actually a little bit on the lower end of most school systems. Some are as high as 80% salary and benefits. That's the one expensive part of our salaries and benefits is our very good health insurance, our teachers' retirement. And this keeps creeping up, but our percentage we have to pay 7.5% state, and also our the amount that we have for our costs for our insurance is also remained stable. So that's the the great percentage that we are funded is through the state program. Federal is, it's all significant. Our local keeps creeping up with our percentage because our sales taxes held up so well. Our property taxes have gone up. But that also, the property taxes really don't help us because that increases our local match with the federal. So it just, as the property tax goes up, our state will actually slightly come down. And that pie chart really gives a good picture of how dependent we are on the state. And this is the last slide I'm going to do. I was telling you about that dance where the federal and the state, you'll see that the federal decreased by 8,400,000. Our state increased by almost the same amount. And it seemed like they act in tandem. As one goes down, one goes up. And so our overall funding, you'll see, is almost the same amount of revenue. So we're budgeting basically the same revenue this coming year as we had. And we do have a 2% increase in salaries. So, but we're going to have a much lower amount that we're going to be spending on capital. We've completed expenditures related to this building, or we will be done very soon. We've actually come to agreement, and that should be totally paid in the next month. But our overall revenue is going to be exactly the same. So I'm going to turn this over to misspoke is, I might chime up, and if you have any questions about anything, feel free to raise your hand, and we'll try to at least take the question down and answer it right here.
Okay, when we look at our state revenues, which Jeff mentioned were 49.3 million this year, the largest source of that funding comes from the foundation program, and the state has a formula for the foundation program, and it's based on our average daily membership or our enrollment, which is taken at the 20-day after Labor Day report from the prior year. It also, part of the funding is a report that we submit called LEAPS, and that gives the years of experience and the education levels of our employees. Now, in order to participate in the foundation program, we do have a local match, and that's a 10 mil match. This year, that's $6 million. It's a 1.32% increase. We have a capital purchase match. This year, that's a decrease of $266,000. We have to have a minimum of 180-day school term, and we must pay our teachers in accordance with the state salary matrix, which we do. And we have to allocate those funds to schools in an equitable manner. And you can see how we do that beginning on page 73 in your budget packet. And we're also required to submit an annual report and 9 other operational plans to the state yearly. I know this is a small chart if you're looking at it on the screen. It's on page 15 in your budget packet. But this is all of the state revenue sources that we have. And you'll see again that the foundation program is up 5%. That is to help fund that 2% pay increase, as well as the increase in the retirement match. You'll also see that we had a large increase in the school nurse program, 36.7%. Last year, the state passed a nurse salary matrix, but they didn't fully fund it, and so they're catching up on that, and so that's why there's that large of an increase. As Jeff mentioned, I mean, you'll just see across the board, there are increases, and it's because of the Educational Trust Fund. There's a surplus of revenues there, and so that's passed along to schools, both through allocations and competitive grants. I want you to notice where, about midway down where it says high school graduation exam, it's not actually the high school graduation exam. It's a High Hopes grant that Dusty applies for. We did receive it this past year, but the money came in at the end of FY23, so that's why you don't see a figure there, as well as advancement in technology towards the bottom, the $4.9 million. We did receive that for this past year, but we received it in FY23. This year, thanks to Mr. Livingston, we got an additional $1 million in that fund. So now we'll take a look at federal, which is 9.8% of our budget. And as Jeff mentioned, we're kind of back to business as usual with the loss of COVID funds. We also did not receive Title V funds. I will say before we go forward that we did not have any personnel in Title V, and we had minimal personnel in ESSER funds, and so we have been able to retain all of the employees that we funded through ESSER, and they're now being funded through other state sources and other local sources. A lot of districts are having to let people go, and we're fortunate that we don't have to. But you'll see that our 3 main sources of federal revenue is our child nutrition program, Title I, and then IDEA, which is the special education. And when you're dealing with federal revenues, just always remember that the funds are for supplemental programs. They must be expended for specific priorities, and they're annual in nature. A few of the federal sources we can carry over funds from one year to the next. It is a minimal amount, and those funds have to be spent in full at the end of that carryover year. So now we'll take a look at local, which is 26.6% of our budget. And when we're making our local revenue projection, Jeff is very wise in that we always do conservative estimates. That's based on trends in prior years, knowledge of current economic factors, the valuation of property and sales trends in this region. next chart is on page 14 of your budget packet, but this shows all of our local fund sources. And you can see, again, just a 5% very conservative estimate of an increase in revenues. And when you look at the one thing that jumps out is that interest being 106% increase. That's based on the interest we're earning on the CDs that we took out on our investments. Those will be coming up in January, and then we're going to do some requests for proposals to turn that into another investment. And then other is our smallest category at 1%. And things that make up the other revenues are our Medicaid reimbursement, which Ms. Sheila Fairbanks handles, our E-rate funding, which Derek and his crew handle, and then the schools send in extracurricular trip mileage. The transfers in is also from the schools, and that's when they're reimbursing us for things like subs and supplements. And then we have other miscellaneous revenues, which are grants that many of our staff apply for that are not state or federal related. Now we'll look at the fun part, the expenditures, which we're estimating to be $77.3 million this year. And there's a better chart on the next slide that we'll get to, but you can see that the majority of our expenditures are spent on instruction when you look at it by function. And you can see that our overall expenditures we're projecting will be down 4%. And if you look in your budget packet on page 8, that'll give you the description of all the functions that are listed here. That's really just a broad view of how to categorize how we spend our money. Jeff mentioned this earlier, the largest decrease is in capital outlay. It's 58% less than last year. That's due to the completion of this building, as well as not having the ESSER funding. We did a ton of capital projects that are ending and will be paid for hopefully by the end of this month. You'll see the operations and maintenance is up a good bit, and that is due primarily just to the age of our buildings. We're always going to have to be doing work to keep them in working order, and we received those ATF funds that we're going to be just continuing our push with keeping our buildings up to date and with new roofs and new HVACs. And then lastly, you'll see in auxiliary services, we're down 15%. That is because last year we received a large grant to replace all of the 2014 buses. We did not receive that grant this year, so we will not have a large purchase of bus fleets this year. And this is a more bird's eye view of our expenditures. And like Jeff showed you earlier, salaries and employee benefits are the largest bulk of expenditures that we have. And again, capital outlay is down. You'll even see that there's a decrease in purchase services, and that also has to do with the loss of the ESSER funding. You can see a breakdown of expenditures by each cost center beginning on page 25 in your packet. I figured you probably didn't want to go through each of those packets, but if you wanted to see how each school, how their expenditures fall, you can look at those pages. And then again, I know this is a small chart. It's hard to make it big on a presentation. It is on page 18 of your budget. But this is the summary of our entire budget for FY25. And if you look at the far right column, those are all of the totals. And so our beginning fund balance we're projecting for October 1st will be $31.2 million. And then we've discussed the $78.9 million in revenues, the $77.3 million in expenditures. And so that will leave us with excess of revenues of $1.6 million and an ending fund balance of $32.8 million, which continues the trend of steady growth that you have seen since Mr. Middleton has been in charge of finances. So in summary, you continue to make prudent financial decisions that support all of the educational programs that are critical for our students and teachers and staff. Our administrative team meets weekly, and they do an excellent job of managing personnel and keeping the student-to-teacher ratios adequate. And as a finance team, we will continue to monitor the State Education Trust Fund and our local economy and just be prepared for the potential outcomes. As Jeff mentioned earlier, if you do have a comment to the budget, there is a sheet on the back of your packet that you can fill out, turn it into Mr. Davidson, be sure to sign it, put your name and address and phone number on that. And before we turn it over for questions, I did want to recognize our finance team. They do really hard work. We don't see kids every day, but the work that we do affects the kids. And we have 4 ladies, Jeff and I are up here today, but we have 4 ladies that keep us going. And that's Melissa Chapman, who does our payroll, Kim Phillips, who does fixed assets, classroom instructional funds. She also helps with accounts payable as needed. Ms. Penny Pritchett, she keeps all of our local bookkeepers in order and assists with payroll as needed. And she's not here, but Ms. Linda, who has been here longer than most of us combined, at 53 years, I think, she handles accounts payable. And then these ladies don't work directly with us, but Ms. Jonita and Tammy and Sheila and Joanne and CMP, they all keep the federal programs going, keep our reimbursements flowing, and we could not do our jobs without them as well. So we will open that to questions if anybody has any.
What's the number of months in reserve that we have?
No question.
Be in the 3 range. Our expenses, we have been going up every year, but the expenses go up too. Probably a little bit faster, and so it's I projected in the 3 range. We're required to have 1. So I want to mention one other thing that. Even though we're conservative, and we're trying to maintain that or to grow that fund balance, we are being pretty aggressive with a lot of our initiatives. We're real aggressive with our ESSER funds to do heavy maintenance to get ourselves in good shape. With our facilities, and then also we've been actually bringing on some additional personnel to maintain or to increase our effectiveness with instruction, that we're trying to have everybody on the same page with instruction. So it's not like we're just going, even though our finances are stable, instructionally, we're making some aggressive moves. Superintendent and board have chosen to really go forward with our instruction to try to be higher and higher, rated with our report cards,
Marzano.
Marzano.
No Malzahn out here.
We're trying to really progress and become on the cutting edge of technology and education, and of course our technology is, we've been aggressive trying to keep that upgraded, and we've actually spent a lot in this past year with ESSER funds to get our technology that's in the hands of the students to be up to date, first class. So we're not just being calm about things. I think that the superintendent's being aggressive in his approach, and
Jeff, I suppose that anybody in here that has a question, if they get home, think about that, they can write that down, get it to you, and you'll address it on Wednesday.
Comment, you know, you can put questions there too, or anytime you can call me or Bucky, you know, or any of the people we're limited to 10 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we will get right into our general business. Item A, consider motion for corrections, additions, or deletions to the August 21st, 2024 work session and board meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion to approve. I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor of approving those minutes, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. B, consider motion to approve the behavior specialist job description, and that was presented at our last meeting and has laid on the table until today. I'll make a motion to approve that.
Second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor of approving this job description, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. C, consider motion to approve the library media center policy. Again, that was presented, I think, and is laid.
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor of approving this media center policy, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. D, consider a motion to approve the purchase of classroom all-in package for ABI robots from Van Robotics in the amount of $50,999.80. I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion?
That's funded by a grant.
This-
Perfect.
As far as discussion, I would really like very much to, I understand this is a grant that one of our folks wrote, have a presentation before this group and
Be excellent.
just share with us where they're going with that.
So, Mr. Davidson, do you want to mention who initiated that grant?
The combination of the Ashleys, I believe, Ashley Pascal and Ashley Lee.
Okay. All right. And this program, is it going to be, are we going to house that here through Mr. Hembry, or?
They've got so many grants going on. This particular one, I'll get you more details.
Yeah.
So out there is gonna be
Into
the
this-
first grade classroom.
First grade.
I think these robots are gonna go to each school's first grade classroom.
This
That's
is
the one
Google
she-
grant.
That's the one she talked about in her presentation, I think. Okay.
Okay.
That's mine.
It's the Google grant, isn't it?
It's not a Google,
No.
it's a state grant,
State
I
grant.
can't remember the name, but she did purchase some of these for summer school using
Yeah.
ESSER funds, and it was such a great product, and she wrote for this grant to get more out in the classrooms.
I'd just like to know a little more about it.
Perfect. But we have a motion and a second to approve the purchase. We've had some discussion. If there's no more discussion, we will move to vote. All in favor of approving this purchase, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. E, consider a motion to approve the purchase and replacement of the core switch stack for Woodville from CAM Technologies in the amount of $47,370.21.
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor of approving this purchase, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. F, consider a motion to approve the final contract amendment with First Team Construction to resolve all outstanding change orders in the sum of $224,783.78.
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor of approving that change order and closeout, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. G, consider a motion to approve the contract between Jackson County Board of Education and Denise Browning for transportation services for a Jackson County student. I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor of approving this item, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. H, consider a motion to approve the coaching supplement increase to our upcoming salary schedule. I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor of approving those coaching supplement adjustments, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And I is our 24-25 salary schedule, and we are going to take that one up at our Wednesday meeting. So that is also still tabled there. Under personnel, consider a motion to accept the resignation of Kelly Little as a teacher at Stevenson Elementary School effective September 13th.
I'll make the motion.
Have a motion,
Second?
second, any discussion? All in favor of accepting Ms. Kelly's resignation, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Under transfers, consider a motion to transfer Paige Freeman from a part-time not to exceed 28% teacher at Stevenson Middle to a countywide part-time not to exceed 50% gifted teacher. She'll initially be located here at the KDCIA, and that will be effective September the 12th.
Make that motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor of approving the transfer, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And then we have 4 employments here, and if it's okay with the group, we'll take those in a motion. I think we can without any conflict. All in favor, consider a motion to employ the individuals in items A through D, if they're designated time, designated location. I'll make that motion.
Second?
We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor of approving these 4 employments, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have announcements. We will have our next budget hearing and full slated board meeting on Wednesday. That begins at 5 o'clock. Budget hearing our second budget hearing will be the first item of business that day. Then we'll go into work session, I think that is, and then the board meetings immediately follows that. Is that correct, Jim?
Yeah.
All right, work session first, then hearing. Just come at 5 and you can catch it all. We may even have popcorn, who knows? Any other announcements, Mr. Davis?
No, that's it.
All right. Board members got anything? Our other 2 guys could not get off of work this morning to be here, but it is not a requirement for board members to be at both budget hearings, but we do need to sit through the budget presentation, and we certainly have to approve that and sign off on it. And thank you for the hard work on that team, and Buffy and Jeff, and we appreciate that. And thankful that you're able to keep us on the right path. So we don't want to see our monthly operating totals drop. So being in the 3 range is good. 3.5 is better, right? So but we appreciate your diligence on that, and the system is better for it. If there's nothing else, then we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Have a motion,
Second?
second, any discussion? All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're now adjourned. Thank you.